Hey, what's up? Thanks for hitting play today. We've got a special edition of the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. Kyle was recently interviewed on KHTK Sports 1140 Radio, a show called The Lowdown with Damian Barling and Jason Ross. Today, the interview is all about Ride Ataxia NorCal, which is just a day and a half away, and of course, a private screening of the Ataxian here in Northern California. So, I hope you enjoy the interview. Take a listen.
Oh, see, there you go. I was about to go with it was all a dream.
Either way.
You went the other route. It's all right, man. We're happy to welcome back to the Lowdown, by the way. That's Jason Ross. I'm Damian Barling. Happy to bring in Kyle Bryant. We reference Rosie a lot, or the guy next to us in the studio. He's one of our best friends in this building, and he works really hard on the show, particularly with the creative 2 o'clock intros. He introduced us to Kyle Bryant. Kyle, you're here now. We're really happy you're here. We were expecting you to be on the phone, so we're thrilled you're here. There's a number of different things to talk about here. The first one, the screening of your movie, the Ataxia. I was practicing that all before the show and feel like I'm still getting it wrong. Premieres in Davis tomorrow.
Right. It's called the Ataxian.
Ataxia.
So the disease that I have is called Friedreichs Ataxia, and so the movie's called The Ataxian. It premiered in 2015 in LA at a film festival, and it has won a few audience awards, and now we're showing it to our Northern California friends there in Davis. And then the next day is our charity bike ride called Ride Ataxia.
Your 8th annual bike ride, and that's all going on in Davis. So the first thing that came into my mind, because the movie documents your ride from San Diego to Memphis, a 25 is that right?
Well, so there's 2 rides. So that ride that you're talking about from San Diego to Memphis, we did that in 2007. That was me and my dad that did that ride. And then the Ataxian is about our participation. We had a 4-man team, and we did the world's toughest bike race. It's the Race Across America, and we rode from Oceanside to Annapolis, Maryland, in 8 days, 8 hours, and 14 minutes. 3,000 miles in 8 days. So,
and just for the record, what were you riding?
Recumbent trike. So, I mean, you've probably seen 2-wheeled recumbents, but this one's got an extra wheel in the front. One of the manifestations of the disease for me is lack of balance and coordination. Actually, that is a symptom of the disease for everyone who has it. But I have plenty of power left on my legs, just no balance.
Apparently.
So
apparently there's some power left in there. Yeah.
What makes that the world's most difficult? I mean, the time, the duration that you took to do it is amazing, but what are the biggest challenges of the world's most difficult ride?
Well, the biggest challenge is the clock never stops. So, like Tour de France, for example, those guys are crazy animals, but their clock stops every single day, and they get to go to bed. Mm-hmm. And get a massage and eat some gourmet food and stuff like that. But for Race Across America, the clock starts at the start line at Oceanside, and it does not stop at all until you've crossed the finish line in Annapolis, Maryland. So, we're riding 24 hours a day. We had a 4-man team, and so it was kind of relay style. And we actually did get a decent amount of sleep. It was just in a really weird schedule. We would get 2.5 hours of sleep every 6 hours. So
no gourmet food.
Yeah. What goes into that? Is there a van following you, or a truck, like an
RV or something?
Is there what?
Yeah. So we had an RV. We had 2 follow vehicles. For me, they had to stay behind me 24 hours a day because of my trike. So a RV that we all stayed in, and the 2 Volvo vehicles, and then a runaround vehicle to get food and do laundry and all that stuff. We had 13 crew members, and we had 4 riders and 6 documentary crew members. And so we were traveling across the country at 14 miles per hour with quite a crew.
Wow. So the feat is amazing, but what are you going to remember the most about it? Like, is there a specific story that you remember the most of your journey?
Well, generally, I just remember the support from the FA community. So Friedreichs Ataxia affects 1 in 50,000 people. That's about 5,000 people in the U.S. And, when you're diagnosed with something that rare, it's a really scary thing, and nobody understands it unless they've been through it. And so to have the support of the community that knew what we were doing and came out to see us on the road was, that's when I really understood the term X Factor. Like, that was the X Factor in our ride for sure,
You mentioned it's something people don't understand. What exactly is it?
So Friedreichs Ataxia is a genetic neuromuscular disease that affects all muscle coordination from the toes to the fingertips. It also has symptoms like scoliosis and diabetes and vision loss, hearing loss, and life-threatening heart complications. So it's a multi-system disease and affects every part of your body, every cell in your body almost. And so for me, I don't walk anymore. I use a wheelchair because my balance has gotten so bad. But for a lot of kids, I was diagnosed at age 17. For a lot of kids, they're diagnosed before the age of 10. They're in a wheelchair by the time they're 13, 14 years old. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids are dying in their 20s due to heart disease caused by FA. So, a lot of times people see me and I can tell they're going, what's the big deal? Like, this guy seems happy and successful. And I am absolutely happy, and I'm really glad to be here today. But, it's not the same for everyone who has this disease. This is literally a life and death situation, and that's what we're trying to focus on, is helping people that have this disease and having hope for the future for research to cure this disease.
So do you think obviously your message is being received well when you're doing the most difficult ride? How is it being received the same way in the documentary? Are you getting that same kind of feedback?
Yeah, we absolutely are. I mean, anyone that sees the documentary, and I'd like to invite you to officially to the screening on Friday if you can make it. But
official invite.
Yeah.
Boom.
But yeah, it's been received really well. It's won 3 audience awards at major film festivals, and we've done a few private screenings around the country, a few private screenings in Australia too, and it's just been received really well by every single audience that it's been in front of.
Awesome. So how did you go from diagnosis to, let's cycle across the country a couple of times? Like, how did you get to that point? What brought you there?
Well, I think, it's similar to what we all feel. You get to a certain point and you're like, all right, what do I want to do with my life, right? Like, that's just kind of a human thing. And for me, it came on a lot more urgently because of this disease. Like, here's this disease. I could either let it take over, or I could figure out something to do and to take control of my life and actually direct it where I want it to go. And so it kind of got to that point. And I saw another guy who was riding a recumbent trike, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I can do that. And then, the ideas for the bike ride just came from there. Once I rode, 7 miles, then I rode 14, then I just kept going from there. One day I rode a Century in Napa Valley. And from then on, the sky was the limit. And so these bike rides just came out of a place where I was kind of backed up against a wall. Me and my family were backed up against a wall. And, decided to do something about it. And this happened to be the thing that I love more than anything. I love being on my trike more than anything in the world. And, an excuse to ride it all the time is what I like. So.
You really ran with it when you said an excuse to ride it all the time.
I know. You just kept going.
Kinda, it's like there's a hobby, and then there's going to the extreme. 3,000 miles in, 9 days, 8 days?
Yeah, let's test the limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's a big part of it, too, is just test where I could take it. And, if I can get to the end of the block, I can get to the end of one more, and then one more. And that, it just started from there, and this is where we're at.
So, I mean, in all those things, there's always, like, fighting through the doubts in your own head. So it's like, okay, one more block is not one more block. It's 100 more miles. How do you overcome that obstacle? Or is it, like you said, the people that are out there on the road supporting you, your family, your circle, is that what helps push you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been blessed in my life with an amazing family and an amazing group of friends. And they really keep me going. And I just know that with their support, I can't fail. But I recognize how fortunate I am to have that support. And, it's the major thing that gives me the most confidence is just knowing that I can't fail with all these people behind me supporting me.
The 8th Annual Ride Ataxia is on June 10th. Is there a website people can go to be a part of this?
Yeah, they can go to rideataxia.org/NorCal. We just closed registration, but people can come out the day of and sign up and ride with us. We're going to have about 250 riders, and there's multiple route lengths to kind of span the spectrum of abilities. And, we're going to have great food from Outback Steakhouse and Lazy Dog Restaurant, and it's just going to be a really good time.
Ataxia for those is Ataxia. Kyle Bryant, you're an inspiration, my brother. We thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
We'll get back more. Can we plug your podcast?
Yeah. The podcast is the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. And, we really talk about what it's like to be diagnosed with a disease that causes disability and just how you view yourself in that situation, how you move forward. And we've had some amazing guests, including a nutritionist from UC Davis and a few disabled athletes and some professional speakers and stuff. So it's a good time, and we just laugh a whole lot in the podcast.
And Kyle, by the way, is a UC Davis guy.
Yes, he is.
Just throw that out there. That's an interesting. Two Disabled Dudes. Our original show name was Three Dumb Guys, so it's not that far off. We'll step out, regroup. Kyle, thank you again so much. More of the Lowdown. This is Sports 1140.